we have something really special for you today. I don't know if any of you have been feeling kind of stuck, maybe a little blocked, that writer's block that happens a lot, or just bogged down by all the things, but we are here to revamp your creativity with our dear friend Vireo, who is a pleasure coach. And let me tell you a little bit about her before we get into this conversation. Vireo is the mother of two grown sons and a grandmother, which is so amazing. She is a relationship and pleasure coach. She also has a master's in education and 15 years of teaching experience. Woman after my own heart there. She is known as Pleasure Coach Vireo, an expert in sacred femininity and sexuality. Vireo has been empowering women to feel confident in their female bodies since 2008, and her clients call her the shame buster. I love it. She is also a Tao Tantric arts facilitator, Kundalini dance teacher, laughter yoga facilitator, and positive self-talk coach, a best-selling author and speaker. Welcome, Vireo. Welcome to the Rebel Writers. We are so happy to have you here today.
Thanks, Renee. And I'm really happy to be here. And I love that you're called that we're called Rebel Writers in your group. The world definitely needs more rebel writing on the planet. So absolutely even more so the last 2 years here. So I'm super excited and super honored to be having a conversation with you, because you are actually, you probably don't know this, one of my heroines, watching you with your writing and what you're doing. And I'm looking forward to your free writes, because the book that you mentioned is a compilation, and I've really been working on my own book. So I'm super excited to learn from you as well, sister rebel writer. So thank you so much for the badassery that you bring to the world with what you're doing. And you inspire me.
Thank you. Oh, that's so sweet. You just touched my heart. We do need a lot of badassery. We need that strength. We need that courage. We need that rebellion. Not to muck things up in a bad way, but to really do that deep work, right? Which comes from within, and we have to share it, outside of us. And it's not easy. It's not for the faint of heart. One of the things that we're going to talk about today is really how to tap into our creativity and how much, our pleasure and creativity are linked together. I don't know exactly where to start, but I'm thinking, right, why, as a pleasure coach, right, what does that mean? And then also, what does it mean for our creative life? And how can that help us?
Yeah, so what makes me a pleasure coach? Well, most of my life I was devoid of pleasure. I was so disconnected from my body. I was not even I used to say I lived from the neck up, and then I realized, I'm not even sure I made it that far into this body. So I was, I dissociated a lot. I lived in the wall. I lived outside of my body. And so having had that experience, and then got to a point where I really didn't even want to be on the planet anymore. And I'm like, okay, I gotta find my juice. I gotta find a reason to be here. I've got to find something that's not, I was the people pleasing good girl. So I got to a point where I'm like, who's Vireo? Like, who's this one? What do I want? What do I like? So now I've come full circle to the other extreme, no pun intended, pun taken anyway. And now I realize that we still live in a society where the female body, femininity, pleasure, creativity, all of those are looked upon as less than. The mind, reason, ration, masculine, patriarchy is looked on as superior. We actually need both, right? We need both. We need to have the feminine and the masculine. We need the rational mind and we need the creative mind, right? We need both. Yeah. And so when we deny one, it fucks everything up. So I am going to drop the F-bomb just as, sometimes we need it for
You're
emphasis.
safe here
really
with
important. So having lived my life void of pleasure and so disconnected, now when I'm like, pleasure is my guiding force now, I can't live without it now because I can't do gray. I don't do gray. I have to either be all in, live this life fully, that when my head hits the pillow tonight, I can say, yeah, I drank every fucking bit of drop of nectar from this day and I lived it to the best of my ability. And I want you all to have that where you're drunk on life. You're drunk on life.
Right.
So now typically people will actually say to me now that, not that we're gathering much, but back in the day when we would gather more and hang out, some people would say to me, Vireo, are you drunk and stoned or both? And I would say, yeah, actually I am. I'm completely drunk on life. And it's true. Like I tend to not censor myself. I live fully, I express fully. And I never used to, right? So I want that for everybody now. So even though my small introverted self would rather stay in my little cabin in northern Alberta, Canada, where I live and just do my own thing, there's this bigger part of me, my soul part that rises up, that's just like wants to get out and like say to people, yes, come on, wake up, you can have more. And we just need that more than ever now on the planet right now, because there's so much depression. And I'm just going to be honest as we're navigating this conversation. I've got one friend in the psych ward right now, a very dear friend of mine. I've got my mom, who is possibly now being diagnosed on top of colon cancer, breast cancer during COVID, and now possibly bone cancer. And she's navigating. I'm just throwing everything, so I'm hoping I'm not traumatizing people, but I'm sure everybody else. I'd love to know in the chat, anybody listening, like what's going on in your life, on your table, right? And another piece is I have a brother who is facing death right now, navigating death because of some of the choices in his life. So there's lots going on, and in the past that kind of stuff would have completely taken me down. But now, because I'm using pleasure as my way of navigating, I'm able to have this vantage point that I can see people, I can love them. And yeah, do I fall down sometimes? Absolutely. But what happens is I get up quicker because I've got this pleasure is like navigating me. And in the moment, it's a question I'm asking myself. And so how does that connect to creativity? Everything, right? If we as women are disconnected from our bodies, if we're disconnected from pleasure, we don't have our juices flowing, sister, we don't, we're our creativity is dead. We can't access it, right? So when we are connected to our libido for life and we've got creative juices, life force flowing, the divine will be pouring through us. Because I can't remember who I was listening to the other day. There's many authors that I'm sure everyone loves, right? And when we talk to some of these authors, they say that amazing piece of writing was really not me, like not my small self, right? It's when we open to this connection with source that then the story that is ours to write, but it's like the divine is writing through us, it now has a pathway, it now has the portal to open. And yes, sex and pleasure are this direct pathway to plug in so that creative force can flow through us. And when we don't, we get writer's block, we get life block, it shuts down everything, right? So yeah.
Yeah, well, there's so much in there that I want to acknowledge. I love absolutely the boldness both of and the vulnerability that it takes to speak about all the things happening for yourself personally, but also how that is able to allow you to stand in a place where you're not completely knocked down, right? It doesn't mean we're unaffected. And we've talked about this before, here and over in Midwest Elevation, that the idea here is that we are living our truest selves. We are tapping into the safety and the security of the divine, and our, or mindfulness, or whatever, whatever route you take, so that we don't get knocked down by all those things. But what you're speaking about too is a step further in the direction of, it's not just for survival, but it's for us to thrive, and we have that right to thrive, and we have that right to feel pleasure, and we have that, the the necessity. I mean, it's necessary for us. Um, you talk about living in your head, and I know that, that's a place that I find myself often, and I have to, work hard to retrain my own, thoughts and actions to remember that I don't have to just do all the time. It doesn't have to be all these tangible, productive things. And I talk about that with my writers. There are a lot of things that we do that enhance our writing that aren't sitting down and creating content, right? And I think this is where we're going in our conversation today too, that the openness and the ability to tap into, the way you say it, to tap into our own pleasure and our libido and allow that flow to come opens the doors for everything else. And so that's just as meaningful, just as important, just as productive as sitting down at the computer, if not more so.
Yeah, yeah. A couple of things that are just to continue on that conversation. I love, yes, our truest self. We can live our truest self when we're plugged in, turned on, tuned in, right? To whatever you want to call that. My one teacher says, just call it the great aardvark. Aardvark is first in the alphabet because it's AA. And so whatever you want to call that, life force, energy, divine, it doesn't matter what we call it. But when we have a rich life and life experiences, then we have richer writing as well, right? Because now we have something to write about, So whether that experience is tumultuous and it's I always say that I've had a lot of lemons in my life, and I've made great lemonade, or a lot of shit, and I've made some great compost. Some of the best shitty experiences in my life have brought me the greatest, in the book that I'm part of, right? That was the most traumatic thing I experienced, and it became a great story that's serving people. Mm-hmm. I wanted to die, by the way, when it was being released. I thought I actually was going to throw up and vomit and everything, because then I realized that, my family was going to read it, like people like strangers were going to read it. It was probably less bad strangers reading it, was more family reading it. Like, oh my God, I literally was going to throw up. Like, it was so. Anyway, that was just another side tangent. But I want to give an example too, like in my own life, of where I just, felt stuck, or I felt overwhelmed, and I felt like I have too much to do. Like, I've got so much to do. I need to just get out of bed running because I've got so much to do. And my kind of rule now, or my mantra, my discipline, my commitment to myself is, when I actually believe I don't have time for pleasure is when I actually need to amplify it and even do more. So, this morning in particular, because it's been a rough, 2 years, 3 months, 10 years, week, whatever. I was like, okay, I've got to show up here on this interview and tonight with my event that's happening. So I actually gifted myself, and yesterday morning I did this too. I actually gifted myself about 2 hours of practices. And my mind at first is like, oh my God, you don't have time. You got to just like get up and do this and do this. And then what happened was, of course, which my mind in the moment can't see because it's in survival mode, is I was way more productive because I was like flow. I was like a ninja. I was like connected, and I had synchronicities and things happening, and people helped me, and things went easily. And rather than push, right? Which is very much what our masculine patriarchal, nothing against men. It's a paradigm we've been living in for a while, is this idea of pushing and forcing, and it doesn't work, right? We're way better to flow with, like, the feminine is all about flow and the river and flowing. So when we can flow, yes, we need discipline to sit down and do the writing and sit down and do that. But if we come to the table with an empty cup, it's like there'll be no words, or not meaningful words. So,
well, and I want to
think
speak
we've got
to that too.
We just
Oh,
had an
go
echo, so
ahead.
hopefully it's not from the other. I just heard myself echoing in the background, so hopefully it's not my thing that turned on
Oh,
here on Facebook or something.
I'll turn. Yeah, it could just be my volume. I'll make sure. um, but the thing about the time, when we think we don't have enough time and to tap into that, what I find, and I'll just use myself as a very blatant example. I'm like, I have all the things to do, to tack on the to-do list, and I can't. And just like you said, it's like my eyes aren't even open, and I'm already going through the to-do list of where I'm going to start, what I'm going to do, yada yada yada. And then I think I have to spend and what I end up doing is spending more time scrolling through Facebook, or I'm just going to watch the show, and then an hour and a half goes by, and it could have been productive, or it could have been a moment where I could have taken care of myself, right? Given myself some love and attention and care that, then just like you said, then you were more productive. You're more, in tune, you're more able to do that. So what do you suggest for people like me or others who are really where that time block is so, ingrained in our heads, when we do need it the most?
Yeah, I mean, one of the simplest things that I've sort of suggested to women, and some women in my pleasure program, that yeah, they're doing the day job, they're still trying to do their creative thing on the side, and they just feel like they don't have time. So one of the things I suggest, which is really simple, is to get up in the morning and gift yourself even 30 seconds, like 30 seconds. And we can just do it right now for 1 minute just for fun. Of just literally just shaking your body. A couple of my teachers, if you're anybody who listens to music, David Pramal and Me10, combined with Rafi, who worked with Osho, lived in the Osho commune and everything. They do 15
Mm,
minutes of shaking every morning, 15 minutes of dynamic just shaking. So getting
yeah.
up in the morning and we'll just shake for a moment. And I'm encouraging everybody who's watching just to shake. We're just going to do it so just start shaking. We're sitting, but if you're standing, it's even better. And making sound too. Keep breathing. And we're going to go a full minute.
I can already feel my energy like a little
This is not the pretty girl dance too. This is the I don't give a
right.
fuck what people think. I'm just going to be as ugly as I can here. Ah, 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 woo, and then pause. I think it's about a minute. So what do you
Wow.
notice right now in your body? That was
I'm
1 minute
like
of shaking.
tingling head to toe.
Yeah. So that practice, I actually do that in the morning. Sometimes I do it for several minutes. I include it in part of my Qigong goddess practice in the morning. And I had one client who she's like, okay, fine, 30 seconds. That's all I've got time for after hitting the snooze alarm, right? Snooze, 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 snooze.
Right.
So she'd
Yes.
get out of her bed. Before leaving the bedroom, she would do the shaking. She started to notice what you said, like this aliveness and energy and tingling. And she said that then making breakfast, getting ready, started to be a little more fun and easier. And she wasn't like losing her concentration and focus. And of course, I have to be honest, she also had accountability with our sisterhood and with me as her coach. And because most of us don't make changes unless we've got somebody holding her hand and maybe kicking her ass,
Oh,
a bit of
amen.
the combination of the two. So, but
Yes.
she noticed a difference. She started to have more energy, and then she increased it to a minute. Then she increased it to 3 minutes. That practice, I highly recommend. We sit too long. We're not meant to be sedentary. So getting up, and I try to do, I don't always remember, but I do my best, like in between activities when I'm transitioning from one coaching client or another, or this activity to that activity. I move my body in between and shake it. Now, for fun, you can add some music. I typically like to throw on a 3-minute piece of high vibe music that's got great lyrics that, one of my favorite is I'm Resilient by Rising Appalachia. I'll listen to that and I'll just like, yeah, baby, I'm resilient. Here I am. So, throw
Yes.
on, have a playlist already ready. So you'll get out of bed. My rule is I can't leave the bedroom or start my day or turn on my phone or turn on my computer until I have done my practices, and shaking is one of them. So yeah.
I love
And
that.
before
So
you write,
simple. And
right?
yes,
Before you write,
yeah.
just stand
Yes.
up and like shake. And if you get stuck, because the stuckness is usually here, it's cerebral, right?
Hmm.
Just put your pencil down, get up and shake your body. Plug back
Yeah.
into the energy, the life force that's there. So yeah,
I
fun
love that.
practice to do all day, every day, throughout the day. Love to hear what people
Yes.
notice. Who's willing to do that for 7 days?
I
Shake
know.
every
So
morning and shake before you write. Let us know in the chat.
yes, we should check back in. Well, and I often tell my clients to use timers, set timers. Like even if you just do, start with 10 minutes, 10 minutes and write, and then, or 20 minutes. And if you're doing, if you're having to really, hard deadline, have to get some things done, setting it for like 20 minutes and then do another 20 minutes of like, movement. Maybe it's, 5 minutes of shaking or the dance party or what, but really, it's so true. The movement, it really can get us out of our heads and back into our bodies. Um, so we've got a little bit of time left, but I want you to tell us about what you've been doing this week, because I know you have been doing this awesome free training. I caught a little bit of it earlier this week, and I'm definitely going to go back and, and watch some more because I was immediately tuned in and like, oh, you are speaking my language right now. You are saying the things that I need to be hearing. So tell us a little bit about what's going on this week. And you've got one more training, you said later today, and then something else coming up next week.
Yeah. So right now we have 5 secrets to reignite your intimate desires. Day 1 was the movement practice. So you'll want to listen to that the recording is in our Sisterhood, Sacred Pleasure Path Sisterhood. So we can drop that in the chat later. And that one, you'll understand why it's actually so important, so powerful. Day 2, we talk about pleasure and why pleasure is actually not frivolous, why it's actually nourishing your vital organs. You will be astounded. You will learn things that I learned. I am 59 years young. I look and feel younger than I did at 40. And at 55, I learned shit about my body and my female anatomy that I didn't even know that I didn't know. And I am on a mission to educate women, especially, to know their female anatomy, because we're not taught this stuff in the Western world. We're like, it's hidden from us. So I will teach you stuff about your clitoris. One of my clients made this for me. I'm
Oh my
going to
God,
teach
that's
you stuff
amazing.
about your clitoris
You're
that you
showing me
didn't even
that.
know. This is the clitoris
I
right
had
here.
no
This is
idea.
the tip.
I read a book earlier this year. I read a book earlier this year that had that same image in there, and I was like, "What? It's not
So
just the
this
top."
So this is the part that we see, right? This little tip of the clitoris, and the rest is hidden. And there is a lot of creativity and
That's a
juicy
lot of.
orgasm and life force energy underneath that nobody tells us about. So you're going to learn about your
No.
clitoris and how it's nourishing your brain and your vital organs and everything. And then what did we do? Last night we uncovered blocks to pleasure. Like we have so many beliefs in shame and guilt and not deserving, not good enough, and all kinds of cultural stuff and religious. Even if you didn't grow up religious, it was Eve's fault, right? So you're going to carry
Yeah,
guilt and shame.
yeah. We're inundated with
So,
it. Yeah.
and then tonight is going to be some serious shame busting. So tonight I'm actually going to walk you through the 7 steps of my mindset tool that is actually going to help you to bust that shame. And that's actually what helped me to be able to do this work. Honestly, I would still be in the closet hiding because it's such a taboo subject, right? And now,
Yeah.
I am more committed to serving everybody than caring what people think or if they're, whatever.
Mm.
So that's there for you. And then I'm trying to remember and then
What time is What time is tonight?
That's it. Tonight is 5:30 Pacific, 6:30 Mountain Standard Time, 7:30 Central, 8:30 Eastern. So that's a lot of times there. So yeah, my mountain
Yeah, we'll
time,
put all
it's
that down
6:30.
in the chat.
So but that's happening tonight. You can come by yourself, make it a date night with yourself. I promise it will ripple out into all your relationships. It'll ripple out into your writing. It'll ripple out into everything. Yeah, that's happening tonight. And I think on day 3, we talked about the importance of touch. I'm really passionate about reducing the risk of breast cancer. 1 in 4 women in North America have breast cancer, and I'd love to know in the chat how many of you know 1 or more people who have either died from living with breast cancer. I unfortunately have lost several friends to breast cancer, and my mom is now a survivor of breast cancer. So I'm all about preventing it. So on day 3, I guide you through a breast massage that is to prevent breast cancer and also connect your sexuality to love. So that's happening also. And all those videos are there right now. I'm only going to keep them for a few more days, but they're in our Sacred Pleasure Path Sisterhood. So yeah.
Awesome.
And I'm super excited because I know it's going to serve everyone. So
yeah. I will make sure we'll put the link down to your group, and the official 5-day training link too. I'll put that in there so everybody can make sure that they have all the details they need, if they want to catch any of the replays. And then, do you want to talk about your masterclass too? There's a lot going on.
I think this is probably good. And if you come check out Sacred Pleasure Path Sisterhood, you'll find out about the next event that's happening. So there you go, a little teaser.
Yes, I love it. I love it. Well, let us know, everybody, if you have any questions for Pleasure Coach Vireo. Put them down in the comments. We'll make sure to check back on the replay later today, and let us know how that shaking felt. That was just amazing. Like, I'm amazed at how quickly I feel energized and like just, oh yeah, I exist below my chin.
Yeah. So I'd love to know who else practiced it. Do it for 1 minute and just let us know in the chat. What did you notice in your body? What did you feel? And who's committed to doing that for 7 days in a row?
A week of shaking. I must. Here's my official out loud proclamation commitment to you all that I will do that for at least 30 seconds, maybe a minute, every morning when I get out of bed for the next 7 days, and see. Well, I know what's going to be. It's going to be good. It's just going to be good. So, all right. Well, thank you so much, Vireo, for being with us today. You serve truly an amazing purpose here on this earth. I'm grateful for you. I'm grateful for your ability to step out of your introverted self and bring this important message to all the women and the men in the world, because we'll get through this all together, right?
Yes. I would like to say one last thing is, remember, your clitoris is probably your key to better writing. I'm just going to say that. I don't know, that just came through.
It's so great. Your clitoris is the key to better writing. I'm gonna write that one down. That's awesome. All right. Thanks, Rebel Writers. Stay tuned for more information about our weekly free writes and when we are rescheduled.